got me set straight. So today we have Freddy Camacho. I know Freddy from our background, a mutual background in fitness and in CrossFit. And Freddy, as he entered into the CrossFit world, he became very well known with his CrossFit One World blog specifically. He's owned a few CrossFit gyms as well. But he got into police work at 34. He worked for South San Francisco PD, correct? I said that
Correct.
correctly, right?
Yes,
And
you
then
did.
yeah, and then Union City PD, and has over the years trained a ton in martial arts, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, another kind of jiu-jitsu which I've never heard of. Lexi's probably heard of it. What was it, Freddie?
Danzan Ryu.
Lexi, confirm or
Yeah.
deny? This is a
I actually have not heard of that, but I
well,
believe you.
we're gonna have to touch on that. Krav Maga, and he's earned several gold medals at California Police Games and World Police Games in boxing, and been to the CrossFit Games 5 times. No big deal. And again, like I said, just a lifelong career in both police work and his side hustle, mainly being a gym owner and a big advocate for fitness. So, Freddie, thanks for taking the time to chat with us. I think I want to touch on your career in law enforcement, and I want to just get an idea of how you entered it, because at 34, that's very similar to the age that Lexi and I entered, and I think that's kind of a unique thing. So walk us through that transition into that.
Kind of funny that you mentioned because I was training Krav Maga, and guys that I trained with were San Jose PD. And one day we were training there, like, hey man, everybody's hiring right now. You should try and become a cop. And I was all like, okay. I literally been like almost 8 or 9 years on at Union Pacific Railroad doing like grunt, dirty, yucky work. And I went home and told my ex-wife at the time that I was going to become a cop, and she laughed. She's like, "No one's ever going to hire you because of your background. Like my background is a little shady." Uh, but I got hired like really quick too, actually, like within a couple of months, and landed at South San Francisco PD. So I just remember my first day of the academy. I went there, and they go around the room, and everybody stands up and introduces themselves and tells their little background. And they're like, "I wanted to be a cop my whole life. I wanted to be a cop since I was 3 or whatever." And I was just all like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? Oh my God. And then I stood up and I'm like, I wanted to be a cop like 3 months ago, and here I am. So kind of like how I ended up at Tesla too. So the same way. Just
I
like,
feel like though Lexi and I had a similar kind of like
Very,
yeah.
very,
foray
very
into it, where
similar.
it's
Yeah.
like, I can't believe they're actually hiring me. Not that I have like this seedy past, it was it was never something like I was encouraged to do it. And Lexi, I think you were kind of similar, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I started telling people, my family and friends and stuff, that I was thinking about doing it, they were mystified. And then they thought about it for a couple minutes. They're like, I actually think you'd be pretty good at that. But yeah, I had a similar, I was skeptical if they were going to hire me, but lucky they did. So,
Yeah, I
So
was a little skeptical myself.
yeah.
A lot
so
skeptical, actually.
I think one of the benefits too of coming in a little later in life is you're not like this. I'm sure, Freddie, you've met people and worked with officers who are sort of like indoctrinated at a very, I use that term loosely. I mean, at a very young age, coming into it and knowing nothing their whole life but police work. And I think there's a lot
Exactly.
of advantages to having, like, you had that grunt job beforehand, and I'm sure a lot of life experience. And you imagine going to a DV at 34 versus 21 years old. There's a huge
Exactly.
difference. Does that, I mean, is that kind of like your
No,
impression of the
total
whole
my
thing?
take on it. I'm sure you guys have seen that too, coming into it later. So that's exactly it. I think I had life experiences, and it actually served me well. I'm not like saying I was great or anything like that, but I really dropped into police work very easily. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, this is cool. Not a problem. Like went through FTO and didn't have too many problems. And I like to think I'm a personable guy too, so I got along with all my field training officers really well. So that always helps too. So
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing is like you kind of make the decision to get into it like haphazardly, and you're almost like stumbling forward into the job. And then when you came into police work, you really excelled. Like I know that you went through some leadership positions. You were sniper on SWAT. Like you excelled in defensive tactics and all that stuff. And so I just think like what a natural fit. It's almost like all the tools you had amassed were like setting you up to be this well-rounded officer, you know?
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie to you, like all that pans into later in my life when I ended up in this job. So now I'm in this corporate job in a leadership position now. And it was really hard for me to get used to the corporate thing because they're like, oh my God, there's this flamethrower going off of a problem right now. And I'm all like, yo, this is like,
Yeah.
you know, like a candle. Come on, let's chill out, people. Let's relax here. This is not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like I've seen some crazy ass shit and this is not a big deal. So
Yeah.
that would like literally pans out. So for anybody out like who's listening to this or you guys, when you're looking to like move on or do your thing, everything that you learn in police work is gonna just slide into, if you decide to go into the corporate world, if you're lucky enough where you don't have to do anything, but if you do, you're gonna be shocked at like, oh wow, man, this is easy peasy now.
Yeah, people's kind of stress threshold is pretty minimal, I would say. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe that's a good thing. Like maybe we're not meant to deal with that much stress, but you know.
I don't
But
know.
I was curious, you know, you went in as an officer, and what was your impression of the job itself? And then like what led you then to kind of seek more niche roles within police work, whether it be like different units, SWAT, instructor roles, and then sergeant. So like what were the things that really like you gravitated towards and why?
Well, obviously, I gravitated towards the SWAT thing just because I was like, oh, there's fitness involved, and then like you need to be fit to be that, and you get the better training and stuff like that. So I'm into that, and then eventually, like you get to that point in your career at about 6-7 years where you're all like, you're either going to go for it and try and get into the leadership spots, whether it be field training officer or we had corporals and then sergeants and all that, or you're not. You know what I mean? You're just going to be an officer. You're going to push a squad car around for the rest of your life, probably. You know what I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about exactly, right? No, I'm not saying you. No. But like it's really that 7-year mark, where, right around there. So for me, it's like I bounced from a department at 6 years because then it's like I was going to get vested into that department, and it made sense for me to go to Union City because it was local. I opened up the gym at that time, so it was better to be there closer to the gym. And then you just kind of gravitate towards that like leadership. I mean, I'm an older brother, so I don't know, maybe that's just like I've always just been like a alpha personality kind of guy, and a take charge kind of guy. So just getting into the leadership part of it just made sense to me. And then I think also when you're on a SWAT team and you're like out with patrol and things like that, people trying to just gravitate towards you as the person that they're going to look to take over the situations anyway. So it just kind of worked out that way for me.
Did you have anybody that was sort of encouraging you down that route, or was it something that you sought out?
Nah, I've kind of just lone wolfed it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I just kind of like, here I am at Tesla. I didn't start out here. I never even thought I would get into management. And same thing. I just started out in a different position where I was going to be basically this little foot soldier. And now I'm the manager of the factory. So it's just kind of my personality. I think it goes with like being a gym owner and just, like I said, being an older brother. It's just like kind of my personality. Like I want to be a leader. You know what I mean? I like to do that. So.
That's great. I mean, yeah, you have a good personality for not like waiting to be pulled or pushed along. But I do think that there's some benefit to like, there's a lot of people who maybe even if leadership is not their goal, they would be better served if they had someone like, even like yourself, kind of asking the right questions, asking them kind of to think long-term, encouraging them in the right direction, or looking at some of their skill sets and saying, all right, like here's where you could, create some opportunities for yourself. Have you had the opportunity to do that for any of your officers along the way?
That's what you do. I mean, it's so funny now that I see the the police side of it and the corporate side of it is that it's all about, feeding your subordinates, with lack of a better word, because that is the word, is like, hey man, what are you going to do to move them up or move them along or get them better than where they're at right now? So it's exactly that. In police work, I had officers that, like, hey, you talk to them like, hey, you really should start thinking about becoming a field training officer, or hey man, you're really good at going out and writing all those citations. Maybe you need to look at going to the traffic unit or whatever the case may be. And then the same thing is following me into the corporate world now. Is like trying to get people to move up from the roles that they're at now into, something better, because they all want to be successful and you should want them to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love that you did all that training and you were in SWAT and you got all that experience prior to becoming a sergeant or in a leadership role. I think that really speaks a lot. Like your guys are gonna, the guys and gals are gonna really look up to the experience you have. But I think it also gives you just a better outlook on, how to get your team better, and make sure that they have what they need to excel and all that kind of stuff. Because I think a lot of times people just jump really quickly to a leadership role and maybe don't have those same tools. So I think that's a cool career route.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys see things probably seen things a little bit differently than me, because you come from a much larger agency. I mean, I think are you both from the same agency?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you come from a much larger agency. I mean, I come from two identical agencies. They were both about 80 sworn, so close, tight knit. Everybody knows everybody's business, and everybody knows who's, you know what I mean? So for you guys, it could probably be a little bit different because your agency's huge compared to what, I'm used to dealing with. So for us, the people that get those roles, that move into, like, I was a traffic officer, I was a field training officer, I was the corporal, did the SWAT thing, did the defensive tactics and all that. And so like people just kind of know who's the go-to person that you're going to want to go talk to. And whereas if you're in a bigger agency, maybe you don't have that luxury. So you kind of just put yourself out there in those positions, I would imagine.
Yeah, you do have to. That's just it, is you have to put yourself out there. You have to, there's a lot more onus on the individual. We're trying to put some structures in place where like a mentorship program is kind of the standard for anybody that's entering the academy. But yeah, so that's something we're definitely working towards. Man, I have a lot of questions, Freddie. So looking back on your career, I'm just curious, I'm sure you had a blast. And that's the thing, is police work is so fun, and the relationships and friendships and the stories are outrageous. I'm curious, professionally, if you look back, is there anything that you would have done differently in terms of just how your career progressed, or things that you didn't dive into that you would have liked to, looking back?
Nah.
Good.
I love that.
Seriously, like the funny thing about my police career is that I loved it every second of it. I love putting on a uniform. To this day, I still like people. I just saw some post about, they did some poll with a bunch of cops, and like 89% of them said they would never have their kids become police officers, or they would never, not their kids, they would never tell the youth of today to police officers. And I'm like, well, most youth of today probably couldn't freaking handle being police officers because of the way they're raised, right? But I love the job. I would tell anybody it's a great job. And I don't know, for me, that's just the way it was. I didn't hang out with a lot of cops anyway, because I had the fitness thing in the gym. So I was always lucky with that. I retired. I live 1 mile away from the police department, and I've been back there 3 times since I retired in 2.5 years. You know what I mean? And I talked to the guys and, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? They text me. I just had some guys texting me the other day, but I kind of just got to keep away from that. So it was cool.
And they say that is a huge part of being resilient in the career, is having a life outside of your job. And that's probably one of the reasons you still think of it so fondly. I'm the same way. I would, anyone who asked me, I'd say, yeah, I'd do it. It's not an easy career, but it is a lot of fun, and you can actually make an impact on people, and probably one of the only careers that you really can on a daily basis, like make a difference in somebody's life. So I think
you just get to see things different every goddamn day. I mean, you're just like just, I remember like right up to like 2 weeks before I retired, I don't even remember what it was. Cause it's funny, like when somebody asks you like, hey, what's the craziest
Right.
thing you
What's
ever saw?
you're
And you're like,
there's a thousand.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I remember there was something that I saw like a couple weeks and I was like, holy shit. Like I've never thought, what, are you fucking kidding me? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
2 weeks up before I retired. And if the Tesla thing hadn't come up in a craziness of circumstances and how it came up, I'd still be a cop right now. And I was planning on working until I was at least 58.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm only 55 now. So I was planning on at least 58. That was my time frame. So I'd still be doing it right now, and I'd be comfortable in probably a cake ass sergeant job. And but I'm actually pretty comfortable right now. This job that I got right now is not that bad.
Good.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I think like it reminds me of like your love for suffering in fitness as well, or maybe that's a former love. I don't know how much of that like that pain.
I'm in the open right now, so I'm
are you really?
Yes.
Oh my God, you're fucking crazy. It's just funny because like that's where the fulfillment I think in police work comes for me, is the challenge. It is so fulfilling to have a daily set of challenges that you don't get to pick any variable of that. Like when you arrive on the call, you don't get to choose any aspect of it. Only like your job is to just try to morph it into a better situation. But there's just like, it's just such an incredible thing if you can walk away and have solved a problem. And so that I think that's awesome.
Exactly it. Yes, I agree with you 100% on that.
It's like the open or any workout where someone's like, no, you don't get to choose. Who cares what your strongest or your weakest, exercise is? You have to do it, and you have to test yourself. And there's just something like walking away from that and feeling like, you know what, at least I did it. Like, I love it.
I think that's one of the reasons like people who are pretty into sports of any kind make such good officers, because they've had that, experience of having those variables that you can't control and trying to react to it and trying to, like you said, Callie, like make the situation better. And then they come to police work and it's a very similar situation of thinking on your feet and, trying to make the situation better. And so having those crossovers, I think is really good for any officer.
Yeah. So wait, throwing back a question at you guys. So then like, where is it going now? You know what I mean? Like who's signing up? It's the other day, like I said, I've only been to the PD like 3 times in the last 2.5 years. And I literally was I'm into cycling now. So I was riding my bike in Union City, and these 2 Union City cop cars roll out of this housing track right in front of me. And I was all like, holy shit, those 2 girls were explorers when I was a sergeant when I retired. And I'm all like, I could snap both those girls in half at the same time. I'm all like, oh my God, like who are these kids that are signing up now? And like, it's just really weird. It's really weird. I don't know where police is going. Like, why would you want to do it nowadays for somebody new in this generation? It's like they got a lot on their hands, I think.
I'll say that I know 3 people that have applied recently or at least pretty serious about applying, and they're all incredible people and I think would make incredible cops. And I know when I signed up too, there was not as much as there's now, but there was that kind of anti-police sentiment in the media and everything. And to me, I kind of saw it as a challenge, like, I'm going to show them that's different, or I'm going to show myself, or whatever it was. So hopefully, and judging by these 3 people, I know there is at least a good contingent of people like that are, signing up because they know they can do a good job and they see it as a challenge. And it's sort of the ultimate challenge these days, really, when you think about it, because there's so much pressure. So hopefully there's a good contingent of people like that are signing up. So it gave me hope that these 3 people that I think are great people are actually going for it,
I'm tripping that there was nobody that questioned that a 55-year-old guy would be willing to go back to an agency again. And literally I'm moving to Maui and they're like, dude, we are hurting for cops out here. Are you sure you don't want to become a cop again?
My God.
I'm fucking 55. Jesus Christ.
That's not an excuse. Okay. My dad became a cop at 60 and he worked for
What?
8 years. Yeah. He became a cop like a couple of years before I did. And so he was like, he was all telling me about all the exciting stuff they were doing. He's like, we just did a high-risk vehicle stop. It was so sick. And like, yeah. And
Well, this explains why you're such a badass, Callie.
I said the same thing.
I'm like, listen, old man, if you can do it, I for sure can.
Holy shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty nuts. But yeah, I can see you in Maui for sure, going back to like, I just imagine like one last job. Like
No, my dream is to work on a snorkel boat, but I need something that gives me insurance because unfortunately,
oh yeah,
I was only a cop for 18 years, so I still need health insurance. So if a snorkel boat, I mean, could you imagine? I would just love it. Just like handing out snorkel gear and then working for tips at the end of the day and just hobnobbing with tourists all day would be freaking great. So
would you be able to maintain like your youthful appearance though? Because you'll be like in the sun all day. First of all, you're a man that doesn't age and I don't fully understand it, but I can't
it's
imagine.
because I'm Guamanian, which is basically Filipino.
Okay.
And all that means is that I'm not aging right now, but overnight one day I'll go into the bathroom, take a shower, and I'll come out and China will be like, what the fuck? You just aged 30 years in the shower. That's what's gonna happen. So
I highly doubt it. She'll love you even more.
well, she better. She'll be wheeling me around in my chair. So right, China? She's in the kitchen right now cooking. So
Aw. Yeah, I was gonna ask you like how your heart has felt with all of this. I wouldn't even call it a culture shift because I think it's always sort of been this underlying anti-police sentiment. But
it goes in cycles.
Yeah,
Yes.
it goes in cycles. And you having been, an officer for so long, I'm sure you've seen the cycles.
This would be the third one.
So walk us through kind of like your experience with that and like how did you just emotionally deal with it? Because if that's something that like I think just people who not only just new recruits coming in like that, forget about that. Like the people who are in police work now who are struggling to just go to work every day, like how do you get through that?
I don't know. I think this one is worse. Well, first of all, like, I mean, where you guys are at, so you guys know all about riots and stuff like that, to say the least.
Sir.
But like, yeah, our guys were like going out to assist on locally on riots, stuff like that. And this one escalated. Like they said, it was much more violent. Rounds being fired, a lot more injuries, a lot more of a violent crowd. But it's still the same. It's the same thing. It's like, there's this time that people hate cops and then all of a sudden we're not that bad or we're heroes again. And then they hate us again. And I'm sure it's going to be that way until forever. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just like I just always took it for a grain of salt. Like, I don't know. I had that luxury that it wasn't my identity. So if it's your identity and that's all you identify yourself as is a police officer. And that was like, I love my job. I freaking loved it, but it's not my identity. You know what I mean? Like my identity was freaking working out and fucking off on social media and posting stupid shit and stuff like that. Like that was my identity. So the cop thing was just a kind of like a plus and added bonus,
health insurance,
which kind of made my made my life all that much more like crazy.
Yeah.
So
I like that. That provides like a lot of good balance. Do you think like the difference now, though, I think, is it's the standards are just increasingly almost unattainable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
they're changing like to the point where it's like going to be, I was just reading something about the Oakland task force that was making all these recommendations. And one of their recommendations was that all the cops not wear uniforms anymore. And I was like, wow, that would be fucking great. But like, number one, but then I was all like, wait a second, I see where this is going. So no ballistic vest, no belt, it's just a matter of time here. Like they don't have guns anymore. You know what I mean?
God.
So that's where it's going. And that's where it's going. And that's where law enforcement's going in this current, and social media is just fueling it. Like we are fueled by, social media is fueling everything right now. The whole cancel culture, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like we're slaves of social media, and all it takes is tomorrow somebody to fucking find some article and everybody starts freaking like, and then it gets to a city, and then, you know,
then it's gospel.
It's just,
and
it's gospel. It's exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly
and it's
that.
so frustrating to see, like, whatever that task force was, I'm sure they've never done a ride along or never like actually, talk to police officers. There's so many problems with what you just said, like just from a legal standpoint of like, that's the first thing they ask when you get into a use of force, or like you have a resisting person or you have someone who ran from you. How did they know you were a police
you
officer?
identify yourself?
Yeah. Were you in full uniform? Did you say you're the police? Like, if I'm not in uniform, how the hell is somebody going to know I'm a police officer? And then you open that up to predators who are like, yeah, I'm police. I just wear this regular non-uniform. Like, you should trust me. Like,
it's a terrible idea.
It's so devoid of any kind of reality that it's so frustrating. We should not be legislating from social media.
We are.
Yeah.
The world is. And unfortunately, I think law enforcement, more than any other, even more than politicians, is being held to what's being dictated by social media. So, I mean, look at California. I don't know if they're doing the same thing where you guys are at, but they're changing the whole like reasonable use of force. Like it's getting crazy. Somebody else just said something to me about Minnesota, did the same thing. So it's just a matter of time till you're not going to be able to do anything. It's just, I was like, why don't we just make the cops firefighters? Like, we're going to get a call. Like, we just sit in a station all day long, and then they're all like, hey, there's domestic violence call over here. Respond out there, wait for the domestic violence counselor to say that it's all clear, and then you guys can go in and arrest somebody if somebody needs to be arrested, or write the report and then leave, and then just go back to the station. And we'll just work 24-hour shifts. We'll have couches there and lounge chairs, just like firefighter guys, and fucking chill and play video games and whatever, and just go to calls when they need us.
Get jacked all day.
But, I mean, they're already talking about, like, I think California's already, I don't know if it's happened already or not, but they're already like, there's going to be like, no, you're not going to be able to pull cars over for like fixable tickets, like registration or tail light out, stuff like that. I mean, it's like, well, then why have cops? Like, just why not just make us cop firefighters or whatever you want to call it? You know what I mean? Like reactive, not proactive.
Yeah, response only. Yeah.
Well,
response only.
I can only see that's the thing that really gets to me, is like, you always talk about the pendulum, right? Of, it'll go one way and then swing back the other way. But, with increased crime and stuff, laws become more restrictive and more, restrictive to civil liberties and stuff. And that then goes to people being upset about like being stopped, or you violated this, and then it makes it swing back the other way, instead of figuring out how we can just stop in the middle, like figure out something that works in the middle where we're all safe. We're still cops, we're still doing what we need to do to keep everybody safe, but
no, Lexi, that's insane. That'll never work.
I know.
Well, think about it this way. Like, why do you not drive drunk? You don't drive drunk because you're worried about you're going to get arrested. You're worried about your insurance. You're worried about this. You're worried about all the things that happen with drunk driving, right? But there's the deterrent is that I could be arrested. So if you fucking take cops out of everything, like, fuck, like, then there's no deterrent anymore. And it just escalates and escalates and escalates. And that's where things are fucking going. That's really where they're going.
Yeah, and we see that with drugs right now, with like hard drugs, heroin, meth. There's really no deterrent for your user, your addict that's suffering. So, for me, it's like the thing that is their deterrent is an eventual overdose. And that's pretty much it. There's really nothing else. And
and I would venture to say that's not even, like, for a lot of them, that's not even a deterrent.
Yeah, get that. I've watched them snap out of that. That's like, no problem.
Yeah. Sadly, tends to be the case. But Yeah, I mean, I'm sure to you, Freddie, this like this past summer and everything having spent so much time, it's almost got to be like an offense to all the time you spent like trying to solve
Yeah.
problems. And that's the thing that I find most difficult is like, even with my short time on, I'm like offended by just like,
You
just
know
the
what hurt,
hatred.
what hurt me more was that my my wife like posted something about law enforcement, and I was a law enforcement officer,
Mhm.
and or the one I was getting back into it, and she reposted or something, and there were people that are just all like, you're a piece of shit, or
Oh
your
my
husband's a piece
God.
of shit, and like how can you support him, and like the whole like all cops are bad thing, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? That was just, that fucking sucked, you know what I mean? Like I was all like, man, fuck off. That's just like so
Yeah.
angry.
I believe it's all cops are bastards
Yeah.
is the
Oh yeah.
technical term.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was recently talking to somebody. I think that was the biggest trauma to most officers, is like losing family and friends for the simple fact that they were officers. And it wasn't like they didn't know they were officers 5 minutes ago. You know, nothing changed. They didn't change. It's just the simple fact of them wearing and I'm sure for
Yeah.
your wife, it was people that respected you and her a lot, but right before they said that, before this time, you know, and it is, I'd say like a pretty hard, almost betrayal by people,
Hmm.
the
you know?
good thing was that it was social media, you know what I mean? And it's funny because our gym is man, I made my gym like cop. It was all about cop. The whole gym is painted black with a blue thin line through the whole thing. On my pillars that are in the center of the gym, I have patches from agencies that people were sending me and everything. I have my like retirement freaking shadow boxes were hanging up. I had pictures of me on the wall, like pictures of all my members on the walls, but I had pictures of me in uniform doing cop shit. And when all that shit went down, like I sent a message to all my members, and I'm like, hey, look, here's the story. Like, cops are very frowned upon right now, but I'm not fucking changing my gym. I'm not changing where I stand. I'm not, and we're not changing anything. And like I'm retired. I'm thinking about getting back in the law. This is right when I was going to get back into it too,
Hmm.
when the height of all that shit was going down. And I told all my members, I'm all like, hey, if this offends you or you have anything that you think cops are offensive to you or anything about that, like I'm not changing that. So if that's a problem with you, you can reach out to me or you can quit. I don't give a fuck, you know, one way or the other. Like that is what it is. And none of our members were 100%
Well, you
like
know why? It's because they
supportive.
know you as a human being. They know you, they
Yeah.
know China, they had the opportunity to build a relationship with you, a trust, that kind of thing. And it's not to say that like some people haven't had bad experiences with cops. That absolutely exists, you know, but it's like to throw everyone into this big, you know,
Yeah. It's
category and
like,
just say like fuck you just because you're in uniform. It's outrageous.
yeah,
Well,
very much so.
I do have another question going back. Probably, I would like to ask this question and maybe switch and talk a little bit about what you're currently doing. But when you look back and you think about your relationship with a community, having been from a department that was a relatively small department, did you feel like you knew your community? Did you have like the opportunity to like work a beat, that kind of thing, or was it like, because I imagine it's a little easier in a smaller department than it is in like a massive department.
Well, the cool thing was that my last 3 years on the PD, I was the community oriented policing and problem solving sergeant. So that was my unit. So I had two guys working for me and a civilian, and I started like all of our social media accounts, and so and I lived in the city. So like that's the rare thing too, right? Is like there was only like 6 or 7 of the guys in the whole department that even lived in the city. So I'm very much so into social media. I have a very public figure. Like I've never been one of those guys like gotta hide my face, gotta do everything, you know, on social media. I don't give a shit. Hey man, I'm a cop. I live in Union City. I'm a Union City cop. here I am.
Come
you know what I
find
mean?
me.
Like, yeah, come find me. Yeah, I'm not hard to find. Like, I got a reporter call me the other day from Bloomberg wanting to ask Tessa questions. She got my phone number. Like, I'm not a hard
Oh.
person to find, right? So, like, I was very in tune to the community. I live in the community. It worked so great because, like, people are all like, blah, 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 the cops don't care about this. And I'm all like, well, here, let me tell you this, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's all done typing and stuff like that. But then people calling me, and I went to, the community neighborhood watch meetings, and I was really in touch with the community. So I think that, like, that was a great way to end my career. You know what I mean? Especially living in the same city, like, it was fucking awesome because, like, people, well, actually, this is what's really our story and what we're really doing, and this is what we can do and what we can't do, and, like, oh, that's true, but that's false. You know what I mean? So I still have people, like, kind of reaching out to me, like, sometimes, like, hey, Sarge, and you're like, oh, I'm not a Sarge anymore. You know what I mean? But I really got to be very connected with the community. I was so lucky with that. And probably not a lot of cops get that opportunity. And for me, it was like the best way to end my career at the PD. You know what I mean? Like, I got recognition for it, and, like,
Nice.
it was cool. It was really cool. So,
would you say there, like, if you had advice for somebody who maybe didn't have like a niche job like that, but is just patrolling the streets and trying to connect with their community, is there things that you found that are better ways to do that than others?
I don't think that you're, like, really going to connect. It's hard to connect with the community if you don't actually freaking live there, right? But you got to just kind of remember that, right? Like, man, there are issues that they're telling you. They're their issues. Like, the Nextdoor app, I hated. I deleted it, like, as soon as I retired, because it was just all about people whining and everything. And I was on that thing as Sergeant Freddy Camacho, representative of the city.
Freddie,
I couldn't see their. What's that?
How are people going to find their missing cats without Nextdoor?
Yes, exactly. And I couldn't see. I had two accounts. Like, I had my personal account and I had my city account. And a city account, I don't know if you guys know, you can't see anything. You can only post stuff and then see what people interact with, right? But my personal account, like, I could see everything in my neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods, right? And I literally do. Like that Nextdoor app, that's what really bugs people, right? If you're looking to run for, like, an office or something like that, that's where you want to go. Those are the issues that people are really concerned about. Yes, it's lost cats and shit like that, but it's other stupid bullshit, right? Not bullshit in their eyes, but silly little bullshit in your eyes. And that app, I was on there a lot. And I was happy to delete that account after. I don't go on there anymore.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I can imagine it could seem like a lot of trivial nonsense on there.
And cops just got to realize that that's, like, their problems are their problems. They're real problems. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna lie to you. When I didn't live in Union City, and I only lived in Union City the last, like, 4 years that I was here. Before that, I'm all like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, oh, sure, your parking complaint. Ooh, you know what I mean? your loud neighbor. Ooh, you know what I mean? But these are their, like, people live there. You know what I mean? Imagine if the same things happen in your life. So how do you connect with that? You just got to remember that that's their problems. The big thing you always got to remember is that your contact with somebody may be the first time that they ever have a contact with a police officer, right? Mm-hmm. And how you, like, deal with that contact is how they're going to think about cops for the rest of their lives. So that's the main thing, right?
Yep. Could be the first and the only contact that they ever have. So,
and for the rest of their lives, they're all, cops fucking suck. They probably already had a horrible time with the dispatcher, because dispatch has to ask all their questions, and they're curt and they're not friendly, right? And then they already had a problem with that. And then you show up and you're like, all right, which one of you two want to be the victim for this burglary? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
I don't know what you're talking about, Freddie. It's not how we do police work.
I think
before.
I think that's a great point, is like, you have to just know that, yeah, you might be the only one they deal with, or they might have had a negative experience with a cop before. And that always sticks with you quite a bit more than a positive one.
Sure.
So like, I almost strive to surprise people, you know, is you just, like you said, you take their problems seriously, because to them it's their problem, and it might be like the worst day of their life. And if you take it like a flippant thing, like, oh, I see this all the time, it's dumb, nothing I can do about it, you've just basically told them that their worst day of their life means nothing to you, you know?
Like a carjacking.
Yeah.
No. It's a good, actually good, really good segue to talk a little bit about what you're currently doing, because I don't know if we were recording, but I think we were recording when we were talking about just how the police work provides such an incredible perspective on like stress and how to solve like big problems, complicated problems. And for you, having been in a leadership role, how to, from that position, how to allocate resources to solve those problems. And so transitioning to what you're doing now, we were kind of talking about how like, hey, people are like, listen, Freddie, we got a huge issue. And you're like, okay, this is very minor. I think we can handle this.
I hope nobody from work hears this.
No one from said company is, it's one of our 10 viewers for sure. But so tell me a little bit about like, how's the transition been to working in the private sector, and like what tools did you take with you from all your experience in police work?
It was hard, like getting into corporate was just like, it was different. Like everything is, I'm used to running around and like driving a car, and even when I had my own, like when I was a cop sergeant, like I had an unmarked car. So it was like, I was like basically like an extra sergeant. So I could just like be driving around in the car all day and just be all like, oh shit, that call sounds cool, I'm going to that one. You know what I mean? And like be the first one there and like, oh, I'm taking over this scene. And then now, but then also be on like, I don't want to go deal with that. Right. But coming into the corporate world is it's just a different beast. You know what I mean? Like, I actually got like called to the table because I responded in an email where like I said, hey, I thought the swing shift girl was going to take over the day shift spot. And I got called on it because they said I wasn't supposed to say girl or swing shift girl. You know what I mean? Like, it was weird. I was just all like, wait, I don't know her name. She works swing shift. She's a girl and she's going to day shift. I said all the facts, like, but oh no, you can't refer to her that way. It's like, I was like, well, you're supposed to refer to her as a swing shift person or something. Like, it's like there's a different little bit of a thing going on there that I was not ready for. You know what I mean? And then, yeah, sometimes I think that what's happened and what I did have a lot of problems with when I first started there, especially when I got out of my original position and I got into the leadership side of it. I wasn't prepared for the me taking things like, bro, this is not a big fucking deal. You know what I mean? Like, and expressing myself like that, like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I got called to the table on that big time. Like, big time. Like, you had to like, oh yeah, this is super important. Yeah. Like, we have to deal with this. You know what I mean? And but on the flip side of that, the reason why it became an issue is because people looked up to me as a leader. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I was all like, yeah, this is no big deal. You know what I mean? So you have to like find that fine balance when you move out of police work into a different kind of a job. Like,
it's tough too, especially when it's not like your personality too, like to just, I don't know, you have to sort of cater to the environment so you don't make things seem trivial, that are like a big deal to other people. But I'm so, for the opposite reasons, like I'm so glad I found police work because it's like just such a natural place for me to be myself. I've never felt myself in any other job like this where I didn't feel like, like I may eventually have to learn those more professional skills that you're incorporating, but like like, thank God it's okay for me to openly curse at work.
Yeah, right.
Not on calls,
Oh,
but
yeah, I was gonna say, not
Well,
when you're being recorded, Callie.
no. But just like,
hey, cursing's okay when you record. Natural human language and expression is okay. I mean,
not,
that's what happened when I left. Has it changed?
Maybe
Yeah,
not in our
in
department.
no, you
No.
get
Oh
you,
shit, you're not allowed to swear?
No.
So who has a job still?
Yeah, just a bunch of nuns.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It's so, yeah. So the problem is it comes off like open the floodgates when you get back to the precinct or whatever. But anyway, so what are some of like the other kind of valuable things that you've learned transitioning into this other job? So just kind of catering to that new environment. And then is there anything else like that you feel like has really set you up for success there?
I think what set me up for success at Tesla was that we are a Silicon Valley company, but at the same time, we're a manufacturing company, right? We have 20,000 employees right there. And we are hiring people from all over the state. Literally, we have shuttles that come in, bring people in from all over the state every day. And it's manufacturing. So some people are a little bit on the unsavory side. You know what I mean? So for me, it's great because like at one moment I can be talking to a senior manager or VP, or I haven't had a chance to talk to Elon, but I could surely have a conversation with Elon. And then on the flip side, talk to some mope who's freaking, on parole or was on parole or is on probation or anything like that, and it's plays the street game, and I know very much so how to deal with the street game. I've had guys motherfuck me to my face all the way down the freaking line while I'm walking them out because they're getting fired, and then get them all the way outside, and by the time I get them at the end, they're all like, "Hey bro, sorry man, just had to do my thing." You know what I mean? Like so for me, it's worked out great in Tesla because Tesla's like its own little city, right? And I'm prepared to deal with the city. You know what I mean?
You're kind of the sheriff, essentially, right?
Yeah, well, no. I mean, not just me. Like, there's 5 guys on my team, or 4 guys on my team, soon to be 5, that of my team of 8 that were all ex-law enforcement. So, you know what I mean? It just has prepared us well we're able to deal with both sides of it. You know what I mean? Like, both sides of life. The street life and the like people that are not street. So it's actually on that side, and Tesla's offered me that very unique situation where I don't think that if I was to be a security manager at Facebook or Google or something like that, I don't have to deal with that. It's just not like, hey, everything's hunky dory. You
get people like apologizing while they're being fired. You get like really meek, like, okay, I'm fired. I'm sorry. And just like,
like, I totally understand it.
Yeah, I would fire me too.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, the active shooter can happen anywhere, but
totally,
that's my big concern about is, an active shooter situation. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, they have the right guys there. Well, at least you to.
Unfortunately, none of us are armed.
Oh, interesting.
Little minor detail.
Minor.
Yeah.
I'll be running the same way as everybody else.
Oh my God. Lex, other questions?
No, I think it's you really hit the nail on the head. Like, there's really no other career where you get to interact with so many different people than law enforcement. So I can see that setting you up really well to deal with all facets of a job like that. But yeah, I think it's super interesting what you've done. I'm a little interested, just if you can briefly talk about how important you think fitness is for law enforcement officers, because obviously that's an arena that you worked heavily in and still do. And I imagine you're passionate about it. I could be wrong, but if you have anything to say about that.
I think if you're fit, you're not stressed. Pretty simple. It's easy peasy, right? Like, and if you can like bring yourself to the level of being somewhat fit or or even uber fit or in between those there, like, it's work, right? And for me, like, I don't enjoy like suffering in CrossFit as much, but I do like cycling a lot too. I do both. But for me, that's always just been an outlet. Like, they're like, Callie, you're like, how do you not age? And I'm like, well, I stay fucking healthy. You know what I mean? Like, I exercise, I'm fit, and lucky right now I'm not getting the wrinkles and shit like that. But if you stay fit, like, you're just a fucking happier person. Like, and if you're a happier person, then you're not going to be stressed out and fucking horrible things happening to your body. So yeah, it's unfortunate because cops get into this bad freaking like cycle where they buy things, they need to make money, they got to work all the overtime, they got to do this, they got to do that, and then it's like, oh man, they were fit when they were in the academy, and then they're like, oh, now I'm working 12-hour shifts, but I'm also taking every other fucking day because I got an $890 Toyota fully lifted Tundra fucking payment every month, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, and things take a shit, and then it's just all about the job. So for me, I made it all about trying to stay fit, trying to stay healthy, and not about the job, because then the job and everything else in life, to me personally, has always just been easier if you're fit. So
yeah, no, that's a good perspective. I think most people answer with like, well, it's, you know, it enables you to improve your tactics and all the stuff, which I think, I mean, all of that you can derive. Yeah, that can help. Absolutely. It doesn't hurt for sure. But I like your perspective of just like having balance. I think that like, that's kind of what you're getting at, is like,
sorry, man, being fit doesn't mean that you're gonna fucking handle your shit when you get in a shooting. It doesn't. And I'm sure there's a million YouTube videos out there of cops who we all know who are like squared away, great dudes, fit, everything, and then the shit hit the fucking fan, and they did something that ended up on fucking YouTube. Like that's the truth. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. Everybody's wired a little different. I got lucky. I got tested in a couple of things in my career and pulled out on the right side of it. So,
that's good.
You know what I mean?
And
Like,
you didn't attribute that to your fitness?
no, nah, I don't know. Maybe I just attribute it to my like weird fucking personality. I don't know. Maybe fitness, a lot of things. You know what I mean? Life experience, fitness, everything that we've talked about here tonight. Attributed to it. You know what I mean? But
no, I appreciate your honesty with all that stuff. And now you've given me a task. I'm going to go on YouTube and find like fit people doing really making poor decisions on the street.
Oh man, I've called it like filming your own snuff video. Come on, fit people, come on, you can see it. Where was that? There was that one cop who, that dude was yoked, and he just like wants to fight this guy in front of his house the whole time. Or the guy that like, there was a guy that was just like fit and slammed some guy on the floor. I'm just like, cops film their own demise all the time because they get into a situation and they're not
making good decisions. No,
they're not making good decisions. You know what I mean? And it comes from life experiences. So
life experiences, testing yourself in martial arts, like you say, you've done. I think that's huge, because you don't know until you, like I always say, like if you haven't been hit in the face, you have no idea how you're going to react. You have no idea until it happens. And should it really be on the street when you have to deal with a call calmly, or, within the boundaries of your use of force, Yeah. So.
Which reminds me, Lexi, I've been meaning to ask you to punch me in the face.
Are you sure with these hands?
I know you have big man hands. My God.
Things just got weird.
Well, they're about to get weirder. No. Well, Freddie, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you wanted to mention, or any like closing remarks that, not to put you on the spot, that you've been burning to mention?
No, thanks for having me. I'm sorry, like at this time I wasn't back in the police.
Oh, no, I don't care.
I would get into it like in a heartbeat, but I'm just like, I'm probably okay not getting into it. And it's not anything to do with the current culture, because I can handle that. Like, I don't care. All my buddies at Mean City that I do when I do talk, they're, dude, it sucks now. It's horrible. COVID, so no one's proactive, right? So they don't get to do any fun stuff. And then, the whole cop thing's like, we have Fremont PD response to the factory, and there are mandatory 3-unit response to any call. like 3-unit response to any call. You know what I mean? I'm like,
it's a lot of bodies off the street during that.
Well, plus you're talking about a city that doesn't have like 8, 12, maybe 10 guys on the street anyway. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just like, oh, that's not fun. Like, I'm going to a call. You know what I mean? Like, whatever, I'm going. Boom. You know what I mean? So, it's a great job. I do miss it. So,
well, we will regale you with any stories and interesting things should they arise. But I'm very grateful that you took time out to chat with us. And as a kind of parting note, I don't think you probably don't remember, but when I was thinking of getting into police work and I was getting ready to start the academy, I emailed you and I asked you kind of for your thoughts and let you know, and you were just basically like, go for it. Like, you can do it. Like that kind of thing.
I was really stoked to hear that you were going to get into police work. I will not lie. I'm super excited that you did.
Our mutual friend, which will not be named, was very anti. And so
he was
very, very much so. And was convinced that it was a really poor decision. But I can.
Was he anti because he was selfishly wanting you to stay with his team and stuff like that? Or like, I always thought he was trying to pro cop and like, it's a
I think it's coming from a family of lawyers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he just thought, it's not worth it, that kind of thing. So I mean, there's certainly some truth to that, but I just, I was always told if you're making good decisions, your heart's in the right place, all that stuff, like things will fall into place. So, so anyway, thank you for all those years ago giving me some support, because you basically said, no, I think you're cut out for it and you'll do well. So
yes,
I really
called
appreciate
it. Just for the record, I called it.
And you were, so that Callie doesn't have to say this about herself, you were very right. She's a very good cop. So
cut to 1 year later, I'm fired.
I doubt it.
I hope not. Well, good luck to you guys in Maui. I'm very excited for you, and thanks again for
man
hopping on and chatting with us.